Hello, everyone. Welcome here again. Here, Llewellyn. You probably recognize me for this complicated, difficult, funny accent. Next to me is my friend Diane Rajchel. She's an author, a Llewellyn author. She's the author of Urban Magic and also the author of an upcoming book that we will be talking about in this video. I had the opportunity to talk with her and chat with her a lot of times, but recently I had the great opportunity to meet her personally, physically, face to face, and hug each other in the Witch Fest happening here in New York City. It was an amazing experience, and she offered a grateful, amazing, beautiful class in there. So how are you doing, Diane?
I am doing pretty good. I just got back from Hex Fest in New Orleans, and New Orleans is always fun, even under weird circumstances. And I was super excited to see so many people that either have been reading my books or have been curious about them. And I think the most flattering thing I have ever heard after one of my classes is, my brain is full. So that was fantastic.
You was in New York, you go out to your city, now you were in New Orleans, you're traveling for everywhere.
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of an relaunch tour for Urban Magic. So for people that may not have seen it yet, it's this book, Urban Magic, A Guide for the City Witch, had to do it. And it was released in March 8th of 2020. So there was a lot of things that had been planned for the book that didn't get to happen. So almost as soon as I got my vaccination, my partner and my business partner and I planned a little summer relaunch tour, because at the time, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was living in San Francisco. And I accidentally, and it really was accidentally, moved to Michigan with my current life partner. And we decided that I was going to go back to San Francisco. So I've ended up doing San Francisco with Wicked Grounds. I did a relaunch party there in June. And then in July, I went to Witches Fest, where I got to meet and hug you, which was fantastic. And then I just finished off with New Orleans. And so I have an event in Detroit this weekend, and it won't be it, because I'll start be doing online classes, and then I will be doing my launch back in San Francisco for Hex Twisting, Countermagick Spells for the Irritated Witch on Halloween in San Francisco.
You have any time to breathe and rest and sleep? No, perfect.
No.
That's life. No. That's life.
Yes, pretty much.
Sleep is overrated. Why sleep?
Yeah. And I'm also co-parenting 2 boys and a dog that thinks I am her pet. So no time. Yeah. I sleep in between TV shows. That's about
exactly.
it.
That's the trick. Tell me about your new book, because you have 1 year promoting Urban Magic, but continue being very recently. It's a baby. It has just 1 year.
Yeah.
And now has the brother coming out very, very soon. Tell me about this book, because the title is very attractive.
So what this came down to is, I guess I have to start with, my bedside manner is not always the best. So when I tell people the truth, they don't always take it well. And some people, there's this concept called ego strength, where people need to work on being able to take criticism without taking it personally, and discern between stuff that is just meant to make you feel bad and stuff that may make you feel bad, but is really intended to help you. And while I tend to deliver on this side, I don't enjoy making people feel bad. Some people will take any criticism the bad way at all. And this has made me the target of a lot of magical attacks, as that access to how to do it has become more common. And for me, it's I don't start fights. I don't like them, but I will finish them. And because as I started coming into these tougher and tougher situations, and tougher situations with spirits and hired workers and hired spirits, I started getting clients that were having the situations right after I had them. And it led to this book. So it starts with a lot of basics about how, like, looking at your map of relationships, because you know how it is when you end a toxic relationship, guess where stuff is going to come from first?
I had one in the past. Sorry to interrupt you, but you ask. I had one in the past for almost 6 years.
Oof.
And yeah, I end the relationship after 6 months of therapy.
I'm glad that you did. That's hard work. So congratulations, and I'm proud of you. That had to be very hard. And
Yeah.
and it can be hard because I had relationships that were so bad when I was younger. When I had new relationships that weren't as bad, because they weren't as bad, I didn't recognize they were still bad. So like just when Urban Magic came out, and so I am polyamorous. I do have multiple partners. And we're at different levels of commitment. So I have the committed partner that I raise children with, but I have other partners that we are committed to each other in our own very strange ways. So I was married to one person for 10 years and was with her for 15 years. And I had a boyfriend for 5 years, and both were very, very toxic, but it took a lot of therapy and me getting out. And yes, there's just, because emotions get so high, emotions themselves can create a fallout. And this is work that I am doing with my life partner now, because my current life partner, Shanti, is an animist in a way very similar to mine. And so we operate on a belief that emotions are animistic spirits that have to be felt and dealt with. And sometimes people, especially for empaths, some people will send the emotions they don't want to deal with to you. And it can feel very much like an attack when it's not an attack. It's a, okay, I need to sit with you and understand you and explain that you've got the wrong phone number. And some of this stuff ends up tying into hex twisting in a different way. There's a very brief passage about that, because that's going to be more in my future work with my current life partner on training for empaths, so that, you know, we don't feel so beaten up by the world all the time. But for now, for hex twisting, especially since one of the other things that happened a lot, and I think it was probably because I was just living in San Francisco and the population is very, very profoundly diverse, is I had a reputation as someone who could make things happen. And so people that would normally, like a Filipino person who would normally go to a Filipino spirit worker or shaman, or someone who would normally go to a santero or on a babalo, they wanted some privacy. So they would go to me instead. And so sometimes it was a matter of talking to people that practice these things because they wanted to protect the privacy, and either having to learn pieces of those cultures so I could teach it back to these people, because my goal is always to work myself out of a job, or to learn things about these spirits and form relationships with them outside of the normal parameters, so that we could help these people find some peace. And so the combination led to what is in hex twisting, which is, from what other people are telling me, is a fairly unique practice, where even when it comes from somewhere else, it has my own spin on it. And a big piece of that is, okay, when someone is deliberately trying to hurt you with magic, or deliberately trying to steal your peace, it is ways of using their energy to help give you that peace. And you've seen the book, you saw the pre-copy, so you saw the several different approaches I have.
People don't feel jealous. Oh, they read it. I know people.
You know people.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yes, every word.
Yeah. So for example, I think for someone who is first getting in and thinks there might be a problem, I would say start with my chapter on the super basic stuff about cleansing and getting off evil eye, and the stuff that happens by accident. There's so much that is taken for malice that isn't malice. It's just, we're out of touch with our emotions, and we don't have good control over our other abilities because of that. And that's a big part of it. So
yes, and being part of an empathetic person, is very complicated, because many times other people is, like you say, they are putting out emotions and they don't have control about it. And it's like, in some ways, like your energy system trying to asking for help, trying to put those emotions because you are ignoring them. And someone else catch the emotion, but it's like, okay, I'm catching your emotion, and I need to make you work on this. It's a very complicated work.
it is, especially since most people, the reason they'll hang it on the nearest empath is they don't want to.
Exactly.
And you can't force people to do what they don't want to do. So it's okay, I'm going to pull this off my Velcro. Hi, you don't belong here. Here's where you go.
Yes.
Yeah. And that can be very difficult. On top of it, for a lot of people that are empaths, we're like, oh, what are you, little guy? Let me heal you and fix you so I can fix this person. And that so does not work. And that's one of the harder lessons. And because of that, and because a lot of people will project onto empaths when they're emotionally frustrated,
Yes.
they tend to get, and this book is not just for empaths, this is for anyone in the situation, but empaths tend to get attacked a lot too, because it's a, you didn't fix me, this was your job, except no, it wasn't. And you can't help someone else with their emotional or spiritual maturity as much as we really want to.
Diane, I have 3 questions here, going a little out of the book just for a moment, because I like to do these questions to everyone that I meet. The first one is, the city, where do you live?
So that's complicated, but right now, technically, I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Okay.
Which is your favorite thing about your city, about where you are living now?
So right now, I'm still getting to know it. And so far, my favorite thing is how easy it is for me to find magical community here in ways you would not expect. And there is definitely a magical and mystical community out here. And there is a lot of self-awareness about the history here and people willing to take responsibility and do the healing as a result of the history here. So this was one of the cities that was a stop on the Underground Railroad, because it is, so I don't know how familiar you are with the history of the Civil War, but
I am the immigrant here, I don't know anything.
Yeah, there were people that helped slaves escape, and there were certain states where even though they were technically northern states, they were technically free states. If someone was caught within 50 miles of the border of a not free state, they could be taken back if they got caught. And so all the way up to Canada, there was something called the Underground Railroad for helping slaves escape. And this city was one of the areas that was still kind of within range in the danger area. And there were people that helped them move out. But so there was a lot of bad stuff and good stuff going on, but people don't pretend it didn't happen here, which does happen in other parts of the state. So that's something I respect about it, since I'm still getting to know the city.
Yes, and there's a lot of, but what you are saying, I catch that is a lot of work to do in there.
Yes.
It sounds problematic, really.
Yes.
Second question here. Maybe you can, about this same topic, maybe in the future you can give us more information of, in 1 or 2 years, how was your experience working on this and healing the process, because it's a lot of work.
It is, and it's not me by myself at all.
Exactly. Second question here. This is very random. Do you remember which was your first book on witchcraft or magic?
I do. It was Love Magic by Laurie Cabot, and boy, did I get myself in trouble with that one.
I can imagine. Let me take notes. And the third question that I always do is, do you remember which was your first spell that you did?
Let me think. So I think the very first spell I did was one where I attempted to talk to my spirit guides. So it wasn't a spell, but it was a first working. I wouldn't classify it as a spell. And something decided to prank me, because of course this book did not tell me anything about protections or questioning spirit guides or anything. And a little green man showed up and it just got weird. And I did not, I was not someone who even smoked weed at the time. So that one, it was okay, something definitely happened that was not me. I'm not going to do that again for a while. And so I learned.
Wow, that was experience.
Yes. And then some girls in the college dorm complained because they could smell incense and couldn't figure out who did it. And I wasn't telling them.
That happens, but wow, that's a story. Diane, how was this is a most complicated part. How was 2020 for you?
Better than it was for most people.
Yeah.
So I would say, even though I did get COVID, and I do not care to repeat that experience. And it was one of those awful moments where my partner and I were trying to get clients because we have kids to feed. And somebody came to spiritual fair. Everyone else except this one person had been screened before they were allowed in. And she had a nice productive cough just as we were eating lunch far away from everyone right by us. And we both caught it, like the one time that we were out working with the public. But beyond that, the beginning of 2020, I was getting divorced and going through a breakup with a boyfriend of 5 years. So, and there was a whole other drama happening that is for a bad romance novel another time. And I ended up meeting my partner at Convocation in Detroit in February. And yeah, we were kind of hitting on each other, but then they came to my empath class and ended up helping me with it, because I walked in on a class that had 65 empaths in crisis when I was expecting like 5 12-year-olds and one lady who needed coffee. And it was like we'd been working together 20 years. So I had been planning on doing a launch party in Minneapolis in March. And my friends are going, you have asthma, you've been under a lot of stress, do not risk this. So I had changed my flight plans to go from Seattle to Minneapolis. So I just flew to Chicago, and my now partner picked me up. And so during that time, the convention I was supposed to got canceled. And within a day, shelter in place at San Francisco, where I was living, so I couldn't go back, like the airport was closed or something. And then 2 days later, it hit Michigan and I couldn't leave. So we were kind of looking at each other going, okay, let's figure out what in a relationship works and doesn't. And it was kind of a pressure cooker. And by August, I needed to move out of my house in San Francisco anyway. So I accidentally moved here. So now I have a family and a life. I finished Hex Twisting. I am moving into the last affordable house in Kalamazoo. So pretty good. Given everything, pretty darn good, especially like since June, my divorce was final. And yeah, so what started to be a bad year and ended up horrible for everyone was genuinely pretty good for me. It gave me some time to heal and do some work I needed to do.
Yes, what I mean, for what I'm listening, sounds like you take the opportunity. Oh, all of this is happening, so I need to move forward, not just stay here. And sounds like it was a really very productive year for you in all the aspects, in the personal life, in your professional life, in all the ways. That's great.
It's been busy. On top of it, I'm very introverted. So for a lot of people that were going through withdrawal with the pandemic, and I was looking at it going, this is great. Zoom is perfect for socializing with most of my friends.
Yes, this is the thing. When I was child, I had a terrible traumatic experience related with my brother. And I was 4 years in therapy, but before of that, my father always think that I was a little weird. And I love being weird. I am a total weirdo. I love that. But the person specialized, the psychiatrist, I think that is the word in English, says that I am an introvert. But how say this? I forget the word. The spectrum of introverts reflects five different kind of introverts that we have in our community. I am what people can call in psychiatry or psychology, in social psychology, I am a social introvert. I recharge being an introvert. I need to stay alone. My partners know that when we have so much time together, he knows how I'm feeling. So it's like, you need a room for yourself. Yeah, I need really stay alone. I feel like overwhelmed. We have so many days together. That happens with us a lot, especially in the last year. And this situation last year was empowering in many ways, problematic in so many, but was the way how I started to connect with most people. I started to make more friends. I started to make connect with people, with my circle, with my coven, using Zoom. And sometimes you feel like, I'm not in the mood today relate with anyone. So you just take time. And was in some way was a strange year because for one side, the extrovert people who always recharge with other people was in home feeling anxiety, like I can go out. I had an attack of anxiety here in home. And when that happens, I start doing videos and talking with my friends. And that what I most advanced during 2020 is that I starting to talk English with other people. Because for that, I just was taking classes and don't talk with anyone. And this forced me to talk.
Oh, yeah, that would help. Yeah.
Yes. And after that, I started to do events and classes and everything else. So it was a very complicated year, but in many ways help or push people going forward. Okay, you are doing this. Okay, now you have the opportunity without any excuse. Was a very strange, complicated year in many ways.
It sounds like it. And English is one of the hardest languages to learn because it's just stolen from everybody and just a big old jumble.
Yes, and you know, in Spanish, we are very conversational people. Every time that we talk, I mean, to give you a simple idea, we have so many words. To give you a whole detail of the quote, we give you all of this information. And when you translate that to English, it's just like 3 or 4 words.
Yeah.
So we feel short. We feel like we don't talk enough. You say 3 words and you're like, I want to say something else, but I don't have anything else to say because it's the same content, but in less words. It's a very diplomatic language.
In some ways, it's intended to be very unemotional, and I gain and lose my Spanish over time, depending, because I haven't had very many people to work with, and I have a show I'm working on with a Mexican woman starting this fall, where we're going to be talking about kitchen witchcraft and focusing on the different provinces of Mexico, especially. So I need to start practicing my Spanish again. But my first husband and I, when we needed to have an emotional conversation because he spoke Spanish fluently, we would use Spanish. There were more words for the emotions. There were more words to get across the feeling. English doesn't really have that. So, and I suspect this is one of the reasons why in North America we have some of the emotional cutoff we do, is we don't even have a way to express it fully in our language.
Yes, that happens. I was reading something about it in a book about the narcissist complex, which is one of the topics that I always like to read and learn. I read a lot about it, about how people sometimes feel conflicted with emotions because they don't know exactly how to express how they feel, because the language is not very helpful in that way.
Yes.
Diane, you define yourself like a polyamorous person. Also, you have a family. How do you think these 2 aspects of you influence in your craft in some way? For example, because I know that it's a very complicated question. For example, I was in the military school, so I am a very disciplined person. With my schedule, with my stuff, I always wake up very early in the morning. I am wake up at 5 a.m. any day, Sunday, Monday, any day. That helps me in that way, but for the other side, give me a lot of bad character when things are not going perfect. So that has an influence on me. How do you think these parts of you influence in your craft?
I think for me, especially, and I know it has come up that I was part of a different tradition and I left it. And some people found this very shocking because I left it partly because I needed more personal freedom than the shape of that tradition allowed, because I trust myself in my morality. And the way the polyamory plays in is it is very much based on trusting yourself and trusting the people you're with. And having that and that can be difficult, having that kind of trust and faith, especially because I've also had to deal with narcissistic abuse and other issues. And so that kind of makes it harder to form those connections and trust. But a lot of it is understanding and valuing people while not needing to monitor what they do, while not needing, I have 2 partners where we don't talk every day and that works for us. But when we do talk, we really make the most of our time. And so I think it is also because for me, and I think this is something that my newer friends, now that I've moved again, are finding out about me, is I will feel just the same about you 2 months later if I hear from you 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now. Is unless something significant happens, my feelings don't really change. And I know this is different for different people, and my promises don't change. I will tell people it takes me a very long time to keep a promise sometimes, but I do keep my promises. Now, there have been some situations where that has not been possible, and when that happens, I take responsibility and make amends. And this is that is a complicated question, because there's so many different aspects of me because of my background and how I've kind of undone the way I was raised so I could be my authentic self. And a lot of it still flies in the face of what a lot of people define as the normal or the right way. I know there are a lot of very wise people who still believe that monogamy is the only way to be happy. And I tried it, and I've never cheated on a partner. I've never been unfaithful. I've never gone against my word. But for me, being able to let a relationship be what it is without the constant worry of, is this cheating or not, was a huge relief. And so, and this kind of goes into my spirit relationships too, because I can let my human partners be what they are, it's a lot easier to work with animistic spirits and other things where you just have to let them be what they are and just accept them as they are and understand the boundaries between you two based on that and based on them understanding that I am what I am. And in a lot of monogamous relationships, there's that push back and forth to try to fulfill everything that sometimes, if it's a bad match, goes against letting people be who and what they are authentically. So that does influence a lot of my spirit relationships, since I'm more a spirit worker these days than a particular tradition. And I think that very much informs how I work with spirits, is what I've developed in polyamory.
Yes, society is a very complex thing because, for example, my mom was married at 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she not married for will. They married her,
right,
because she was in the age. And when she decided to separate from this person, from the first husband, because she was a children with just 15 years and she don't want to be with this person, yes, she separated, and the next year she found my dad. But she was excluded from the tribe from where we come. She was, okay, you can't be here because you are against the rules and blah, blah, blah. And they throw her away because she don't fit in the society. And when she moved to the city, to the capital in Venezuela, was the same thing. Oh, you need to be married because now you have a children and blah, 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 because she has the first children at 60 from the first husband. And society is always putting some kind of rules on your life. And sometimes you don't feel very comfortable with those rules, with those guidelines. But for many people, it's very difficult complain or going out. Now they have like 60 years together. Oh. It's a lot of time, but many times I have this talk with my mom. It's a very personal conversation that I have with her. Like, probably if you were born now, life were different for you. Probably if you have more options in a more open society, probably you not will be together. It's very nice because when you see them, it's like, wow, these people have 60 years together. They know so well each other. They continue being in some way romantic. They continue. My dad continued joking about, and she continued laughing about. But many times I am, it's like this little devil in my mind, like probably if she has the opportunity to have a little more freedom, the history will be different. It's a very complex topic because society wants that you fit some kind of role, and sometimes that role is not enough for you.
And sometimes the role just, it doesn't apply anymore.
Exactly.
I know, yeah. And I know, and this is one of the reasons where, I say I'm she, they, and this is partly because the gender roles don't really apply. Yes, I'm a mom, but I don't do it in a very feminine way. And it's just one of those where people are still trying to figure out what is just a role that's assigned as opposed to something that is inherently a biological thing. And we still don't know what all of those are. We haven't given people enough freedom to find out. And I know some of these things got put into place to control disease, to make sure kids got taken care of, to make sure that there was enough food. A lot of this was rooted in survival stuff, but as our needs for survival changes, the rules have to change too. And they don't always, and those old rules can get in the way of survival, which is why we have those situations where people get married off entirely too young without their consent. Yes. And, you know, people still have this, well, they no longer understand what the reason was for because the reason no longer exists. And so they will like dive into old religious beliefs or so on to say, well, that's why. And sometimes it's a comfort, but sometimes it's just certain people have well, these are the rules and something bad will happen. And okay, maybe something will, but as long as it's not something bad for the entire society, it is a personal choice, and people need to learn to distinguish between what is something they wouldn't do and what something else, if someone else is doing something that they don't like, if it's not impacting them, then they're actually doing wrong by trying to interfere with that other person's choice. You know, it's one of the harder things to recognize, and this sucks for me especially, but recognizing that some people have the right to even knowingly go into abusive relationships.
Yes.
It's terrible, but that is something that a functional adult has the right to do, even if it is not good for them, if it is not impacting the greater whole. What do you do? So, yeah, and these are the things I say that upset people. So,
but it's okay. This is a free space. This is a virtual free space where everybody should be feel safe, because that's the idea. We live in a world where everybody should feel safe to give opinions about everything. I mean, I was actually thinking on this, like, I'm not sure if it was this morning or yesterday. I was reading something, I don't remember what. I merely say to my partner, I send a message about this post that I always put on my Instagram. Oh, I should write this. I always consult with him for my English because he's very good with grammar. And
he is wonderful, by the way. He's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. He thinks that too. You ask him, and he said, "Yes, I know, I am wonderful. I know." For that reason, I like he's like that. And I was talking that, you know, it's weird how with the virtual world, everything is so fast that sometimes you make friends on Facebook or in any social media, and months later you just say something political or personal and they just unfriend you. That happens a lot because we are living a fast world. So in that same way, we are starting to treat people like, oh, this is just a fast relationship. And it's very weird because my best friends, I have like 4 or 5 best friends. We have more than 20 years together. We live in different cities, in different countries. We continue talking every time. We have different careers. We have different opinions about politics. We can fight a lot in conversation, and we can sometimes insult each other. But the next day we are
okay. All right.
You can tell me that you like Trump, but in any way I continue respecting you like a person. I don't like the decision, but I continue having a relation with you. I continue respecting that. It's something that we should have more in our groups, in our community, in our society. Like, you don't need to have always the same opinion to someone else, the same taste. Oh, you like blue? I like blue too. Is the best color? Well, I don't like blue too much. Yes, me either. Thinking about it, I don't like too much the blue. It feels confused. I think that we will be better if we are honest in our opinions and we respect the opinions of others. Oh, you don't like black? It's okay. I don't like the black color either. I prefer gray.
I know that with my business partner, I handle it because we're very, very different in our tastes. It may be I hate mushrooms, and she's like, great, give them to me.
Yeah.
You know, but I know right now, part of, at least in the US, the political divisiveness is everything is super high stakes right now. People are literally fighting for their lives, and they can't even agree on what information is true about things. And that was done to us deliberately, and undoing it is going to take a generation. And for that, it's a tough call, because I have friends with very different lifestyles than mine, and we value each other. Some of my favorite friends are devout Catholics who know I'm a witch and embrace that about me, but also it's okay, that's not my thing. And we respect each other around that. At the same time, there are other people where it's well, you got the vaccination, I have to avoid you because, or I'm going to use you as a refrigerator magnet, or just like, honey, it's just sweats. But, and for those, it's okay, this is where you have to go, okay, is this a difference of opinion or is this a boundary problem?
Yes.
And the problem is that the difference of opinion have been pushed into serious boundary problems because people no longer trust what is true and what is not. And that there's no easy way to undo that.
Yes, it's having a very hard time ultimately. Diane, what is in your next plan? Because you have this book coming out very, very, very soon. Yes. Like in just days, in any moment.
Very soon. In November 8th is the official release date for Hex Twisting. So my next plan is I'm going to be spending some time promoting that, and at some point getting some sleep for real. And so I'm hoping to have at least a month or two to relax a little bit. But my next project that has been in the pipeline for a while is a book on urban divination and working with city spirits for divination that I'm hoping to co-write with tarot author Jamie Elford. So that one I think will be a lot of fun. And I see that you may have some thoughts about that.
Yes, I immediately wanted.
Yes.
It sounds great. You just mentioned it and remind me your class that you offered in the Witch Fest. And all of this about urban magic, about the spirits that are around, is like all of you. Mm-hmm. In some way, the book feels like, oh, this is the book of her. And something that I really like, that I really enjoy, is the books when are made for two persons or three. Mm-hmm. Because when you read one book of one person, you just are picking a little of the mind of the person, about their perspective. But when it's a co-authoring, it's very nice because when I sit down to read this, I just visualize how are the discussions in the behind the scenes, because for many years in Venezuela, I had the opportunity to work for a very small publisher there called the Reader Circle in Spanish. I worked there, and we had the opportunity to meet a lot of authors, and many of these authors who are very well known in Latin America, they co-author with the wife, with the husband, with the brother, with the sister, with the best friend, and you see them like, oh, these two different people here in the office. They are totally water and oil, but they made this book together. And when you read the book, you see both perspectives in there, and it's very funny because I have a very great imagination. And I just sit down, and every time that I read a chapter, it's like, oh, I imagine the discussions here because I know this person like this, but this other person hate this. So I like to figure out how they create every chapter. It's very nice because push boundaries and at the same time push everyone to try to accord okay, which is the idea that we are looking for, which is the direction that we are looking for. Sounds so complicated that I really love it.
Yeah, well, and I'm excited to work with Jamie because we taught an urban divination class at the last PantheaCon. And she is the perfect teammate for me on a project like this, because I'm the one who's like, I want to find out more, and I dive too deep. It's like, no, come back here. This is what we need. This is what we're doing this way. So she has this really fantastic style of quiet leadership. And so she can even corral me, which is saying something.
Yes, because you are a wild spirit. Yes,
very much
I imagine that. Diane, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for your time. I know that you are a very busy person and you are very busy now. You have the book coming soon and you are moving. And in between all of this, you take the time to talk with me to record this. So I really appreciate this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very grateful with you. I really love that I have the opportunity to meet you because you was like, this is a little joke that I have with my husband. You know that list that the people do that is, if I find this person, I can have sex with this person out of the. This is one of the persons that I need to meet in life, Diane, Rachel. I have you in the list. I was like, oh, finally, she's here. I'm really grateful to have you like a friend. I'm really grateful to have this video, like a proof that I meet you. I can say, Mom, see, I know someone famous. I am in life. I'm living the American dream. So, something else that you want to say, remember that all your links will be here below in the description for everyone looking for your book, your last book, your new book. The links will be below. Someone else that you need to add?
Okay. So easiest way to find me is on dianarachel.com, RAJCHEL.com. And I should be dropping stuff in the comments, yes. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to do the lazy thing and put in my link tree. The Spirited Witch, which is basically the easiest way to find everything I do. And especially since that will also show new projects that may be coming out after this video is edited and aired. So also because I am Polish and I have a weird last name, I will make sure it's up there so people can see it. And also if you follow, and one other thing is I am the one of the owners of a metaphysical shop that we specialize in handmade goods and magical innovations, so things that people don't normally try. So for example, my business partner creates spell kits that are based on her own magic, and she's a little more left-hand path than I am.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, like if you ever get a lust spell from her, just duck. Don't just make sure you're outside. And for example, one of the products that I make is a smoke oil that is created to do once you do smoke cleansings and you have minor entity attachments, just a dab of that will get it off just as much as an entire bundle of prairie sage will. So this way, if you cannot use fire or smoke, it's a smoke-free way of getting smoke energy. And these are the kind of things that we do.
This is totally modern magic. I love it so much.
Yeah, so those are some of the quickest places to find me, especially the link tree, because I keep that one up to date. And I'm sure there will be more projects soon because it's me and I never know when to stop.
Exactly, and you don't know what is sleep or rest. You don't need those things. Those human things overrated, correct?
Well, I used to run a Doctor Who meetup, so Blood of Virgins was easy to get. It's a little bit harder these days with the pandemic and all, but I may look into it again. Keeping things youthful.
Yes, I understand. Thank you, Diane. Again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate all of this. People, check on the links below. Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching the video. Remember, share with everyone else who you think that could like the Diane works too. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.